Hello everyone, and welcome back to another WARNO deck deep dive, and back for a deck that has changed a lot since we last visited it, because its tanks got completely reworked, it got some nice other lovely stuff since then as well, so it's really time that we get back into 5th Blindee. It's quite a unique division in its playstyle, and I quite like it, and yeah, we will go into why that is the case, and why I don't think it's a top division at the moment, but it's a pretty solid one, especially on the right map, and it's still a pretty unique playstyle, which is quite nice as well. Logistics step on this deck is pretty simple. You get yourself some CVs, either P4 PC or some VABs here, then some Pumas and some TRM for supply. You don't have any other options really, so you go with what you got here. Yeah, the AMX 10 PC is slower than the VAB, so I take the VAB instead, even though it has a worse gun, but it's fast and the speed is nice here, having good off-road and on-road speed. Infantry tab is still a pretty strong one for for armored division, and also gets you some nice IV, or like not nice IVs, but you get IVs with the chasseurs. But the good thing is that the chasseurs themselves are pretty good infantry for 40 points. As yes, we got some range nerfs on the LRAC, range down from 850 to 750, but that's still really good range. For anti-tank rocket launchers, you get some nice group anti-chars here with double Apila still to murder vehicles wherever they go. And then some reservists to hold the flanks. And yeah, we use some commandos here for behind the line action and getting into places where you want to be fast, as the Super Puma is a pretty fast transport. And these guys get you there and then are also pretty strong as infantry with shock and special forces. The Sapper Flam go around nicely as well. Just as 60 infantry here, together with the group anti-char, they can clean out forests quite nicely. Group anti-char killing off any vehicles, and the Sapper Flam killing off any infantry. And yeah, the chasseur just being your middle of the bunch, AMX 10P with IFV combination here. No ATGMs on these, but you get some VAB Milans as cheap Milan vehicle here as well for 25 points, which is quite nice with the group anti-char. Maybe a bit too cheap even. Though, and yeah, then you get some normal Milans here as well, which I bring around in P4s. You could come around in VAB Milans as well. I guess it only costs you 5 points more, but you can sell the P4 here. Yeah, that's a decision to be made as well. Which I'm not quite sure where I want to end up on. I just want to have a fast transport, so that's why the MX-10P with the Milan itself is not going to be taken here. But I kind of like it with the P4 because the Milan 2 is going to be somewhat defensive. And yeah, I guess you could combine it there though. Artillery got changed a good bit as well. As this thing here now is really unique in that it has a really long reload time between salvos. But it has a salvo length of 6 with an autoloader mechanic. And in between those, it fires really rapidly, which is quite cool. Like, it is a quick firing artillery piece, and that makes it, once it is on target, really nice. And really hard hitting for a 155mm gun. So the AMX F1, one of my favorite artillery pieces at the moment in the game, as if you have a target and you start to hit it, you will hit it really hard before it can move away and get away. So that's why I take 4 of these on the more open maps. These can be really deciding factors to win you a game. And that's why I like them here. Tank tab, you don't have the supply for the other artillery slots, I feel like, so that's why I don't take them there. You will have to keep your supply busy on these guys. Can't really resupply mortars often, which is why I decided against using them. And yeah, the tank tab has changed quite a bit. It's because they have lost a lot of frontal armor. They still have pretty decent guns on the AMX 30Bs with 17 and 15 penetration here. The B2 with a pretty decent one. The Brennis going all the way up to 19 penetration, but you only get a few of them. They also still have the Era here, which obviously is a new thing as well. And then what makes these tanks really cool though is the Jihad, as it is the best autocannon in the game. And that thing really rocks. It allows you to push infantry quite nicely. And like, you kind of have a tank combined with an IFV in one here with these vehicles. And that makes them pretty cool on the offense. The AMX 30B, obviously, the most cost-efficient one when it comes to the infantry support. But the Brennis and the B2 in general, pretty good against all kind of tanks as well. You just need to be sure that they fire out of the static. as their accuracy in motion is completely horrible, but they are fast boy tanks that can push around nicely around the edges. The EBG, unfortunately, still I feel like not quite worth it. Can be helpful, but I just rather have some IFVs and so around. Like, it's 9 frontal armor. If it would be 10 frontal armor, it would survive a bit more, and then the really nice support infantry HE gun would be nice. It's quite cheap, but this way I don't go for it. We have the Mephisto here as a long-range ATGM. That hits hard, as the Milans are a bit shorter range, and on the big maps that can be troublesome. So having the Mephisto here as an option is nice, and then the P4 Milan here to go with the tanks as well. We need both of these a lot against heavier divisions, as your AMX-30 is just not going to kill the tanks, so the Milans and the HOTS with the 24 penetration are necessary to finish off tanks, whilst against the lighter divisions you often just go with the tanks and then maybe some P4s to follow them up to blow things up as well. But the AMX-30s there usually are enough, and you just want to roll around efficiently and kill enemy vehicles and kill enemy strong points. You don't want to get bogged down in a fight here with this division. You want to be agile. You want to use the speed of your tank a lot and move around. And if you see enemy can't be broken in position, leave maybe a Mephisto or a P4 Milan behind, move your tanks, get to another spot, capture that one. It's really all about agility, and your recon tab helps with that as well. The Dragon Power is a unit with GSR, so that is nice. Its loadout is really terrible outside of that compared to other GSR units. No AT, no TNT. Like, this thing is really just there for the GSR, but that job it does well, and that's all it needs to do. And then the MX-10 RC, still great. I feel like the MX-10 RC Subleaned is a bit overpriced. Yes, it has the 19 penetration gun, which I guess is a nice thing to have here, but the difference at this point where you need the 19 penetration gun, this guy gets one-shot by the enemy tanks that have that much frontal armor most of the time as well, and you don't want to take those fights then. And then the MX-10 RC already is good at killing off light vehicles and sniping it off. You don't need the Subleaned there, and you just don't have the money for affording that many of those. These don't have the autocannons, these can't push, so you just want to have 1 or 2 of them around to snipe on the flanks to give the recon, and then you want to have the rest in AMX-30B2 often. You can still run around in the rear and so on, but I seldom see myself affording 7 of these. The Ickler, being a pretty nice recon unit, has a solid AT launcher, which helps, and then you get a nice recon truck here as well, which you can move into spots and help out with the recon. The Alouette, unfortunately, is not a recon helicopter, and it's a pretty slow one, so I don't take that. I'd rather take the real Alouette recon, which is somewhat helpful to hold around the flanks. I end up not using them super often, but it's still nice to have a recon helicopter to see enemy infantry in your rear or so when they penetrate, so that you can hit them with airstrikes or follow them up with vehicles. So having them around is nice. I just don't use them that often. VBL Milan can be nice. It got nerfed in price though, and yeah, I usually don't end up using it that much anymore. It still has a Milan 2 on top, so that's quite nice for a recon vehicle, obviously. But I feel like having the infantry here is more important, and yeah, it's the question between the Alouette and the VBL Milan. If you feel like you want to still have this sneaky boy to come behind enemy lines, hit them with Milans, then this guy is fine. But I feel like the Alouette here is more important at the moment. AAPs is pretty good as well, since the Roland's got some decent buffs around. Yeah, you get the Rolands in both shapes, which you also kind of want to mix, so that enemies with seat still get some trouble when they fly close, but the Roland 3 is with 3000 meter range against helicopters and longer range against planes and better accuracy and better damage. Just better. You really want to have these guys around against armored helicopters, as they two-shot them, like two hits, and they get to kill, and with 3000 meter range they outrange them, so Roland 3 can be nice there. Against helicopters, and actually against everything at the moment, the Mistral is pretty great as well, but especially against helicopters, that thing really hits hard as well. Good accuracy, good range, best range of any of the manpads, best manpad in the game at the moment, and the VAB T2013 helps out against those guys as well. Unfortunately, not great against ground targets really at the moment anymore. Can be a somewhat supportive there as well, but it's especially good against helping out, pushing against enemy helicopters. And the same goes here for the TRM. Both, two of these at the moment stop any kind of armored helicopter, and especially all light helicopters trying to rush you. So I usually have a bit of a bigger, better AA with my main squad. And then I run like 2 TRMs with my sideline push, so that I only have to invest 70 points there, and can be dealing with any like Mi-24K or so that tries to push me there, as they stun the enemy quite quickly and they still deal decent enough damage if the enemy gets too close. So, and yeah, outside of that, they're a nice deterrent. They don't deal any real damage to to planes, but against helicopters they do a nice enough job at the moment, and that's why the TRM 2000 is quite nice. MX-13 DCA, low range, and not the craziest damage still. Like, it's better against planes when it comes to range and stuff, but it's actually not dealing really much damage there at all. So for 95 points, it's not that great. Its ammo issues got fixed a bit, but it still has, as a radar AA, you rather just use the Roland here with the better range and all, and as gun-based ones, you use these guys because they're much more affordable. Like, you still you nearly get 3 for the price of 1 here, and you save some nice money. That's why the TRM 2000 here, in my eyes, is the better choice. Helicopters, you have 2 1-cost slots, that's why I put the Gazelles in there. Yeah, Gazelle 2 hot if it's something bigger. Usually the Gazelle hot is enough. Just, yeah, as a deterrent, as a flank holder with some ATGMs to hit the enemy can be also nice. Like, as I said, your tanks don't hit the biggest of boys that hard, so having some more hard-hitting ATGMs here is nice. And yeah, that's what these Gazelles do. You don't want to use them aggressively at all anymore with the buffs against helicopters by AA and so on, and them being one-shotted so easily by anything. So yeah, they are pretty defensive helicopters, but they do that job quite nicely. Sometimes you can use them for trying to hit enemy rear lines together with a Alouette or so, but usually I just use them as a defensive hold position unit against any enemy armored pushes, and they do that job really well for their cheap price. If they kill something, they pay off, and that's what you want to do with them. If they hit something, killed 2 things, they paid off big time. Yeah, that's the best you can hope for. And yeah, that's what they do. Well, they ain't your aggressive one, but they can be nice as a flank position. Your planes can be used aggressively. You have pretty good ones here as well. The Cluster Mirage and the AT ones are both pretty solid. I currently use the AT one because it's just a bit cheaper, and the Cluster doesn't always fully kill, but the 30 penetration one here is really hard hitting. You just have to get it on target, but if it hits there, it does a fantastic job. Napalm of the French ones is still somewhat busted. Hopefully gets nerfed a bit soon, but the other napalms go up a bit. Like, napalm still a bit iffy, and this one is really, really strong, so that's why we're gonna run it here. Mirage 3Es have fallen a lot off since the big best of days. Like, back in the day, you always ran these guys. Since they are now 8 hit points and also a good bit more expensive, I'm not the biggest fan of them anymore. 10 ECM is really low. You only have 1 long-range missile, so you really still need to spam them, and yeah, with the price, that's not really doable anymore, so I'd rather run the 2 Mirage 200s. They still have the 10 hit points. They will survive 1 hit of a big AAPs, whilst any big AAPs now one-shots these guys. So the failsafe here is a bit better. You have 2 long-range missiles, so in a pair you run better, whilst you need all the triplets here for the Mirage 3Es, at which point they're more expensive. So yeah, the Mirage 200 here, doing better. Gun running is only mediocre for both of them nowadays. Like, they still do it decently. It got a bit buffed against helicopters again, so you could use them there, but as I said, with the buff to long range, with the nerf 2 hit points here for the Mirage 3, I feel like the 200 is the safer option, and I don't want to go into these 3-cost slots here at the moment. Like, there is a version of this deck where you still air spam, but I'm not the biggest fan of it anymore. It got nerfed quite heavily into the ground. It's a lot more about the agility of the tanks nowadays. Yeah, this deck is not the strongest deck out there anymore, as its tanks got nerfed in armor, so you have to be more careful there. Its air spam is not as obnoxious anymore, and its infantry is still really, really strong, and the AT launchers are still good, but it's far from where it was when they were 850 and just made any kind of town an absolute no-go zone. Like the 100-meter range difference there played a decent role, as it also changed the accuracy stacking a bit. So these guys got nerfed a decent amount of that, but the rest here is still quite good. And flamethrowers also got nerfed a bit, so yeah, all of this nerfed the infantry, but it's still a really solid infantry tab for an armored division. And yeah, I'm looking forward to get these guys used in ranked. Hope you're looking forward to this as well. If you don't want to miss it, consider leaving a subscription down below. Consider leaving a comment how you like the 5th Blindee at the moment. And yeah, see you in the next one, guys. Bye-bye, and have a great day.